My name is Emily, and I'm 28 years old. After graduating from college, I got a decent job and continued living with my mom. My dad passed away a few years ago, and my younger sister, Selena, is already married and has her own family. Originally, I planned to live on my own, but when my sister got married, I couldn't leave my mom alone, so I decided to stay with her. Growing up, my mom always favored Selena. My sister is the complete opposite of me. She's cute, stylish, and good-looking, even though her personality is a little mean-spirited, but because of her appearance, people overlook her flaws. On the other hand, I've always been plain and serious. My mom often compared me to Selena, which hurt me deeply. After Selena moved out, my mom started complaining about me even more. She would say things like, "Why couldn't I live with Selena instead of you? Selena is so beautiful, and you have nothing to offer. I'm tired of seeing your face. I wish Selena was here instead." Even though I was working hard to support both of us, she still treated me poorly. One day, I finally spoke up and said, "Mom, I know you think Selena is cute, but you don't have to say such hurtful things to me." My mom got furious and replied, "If you were more like Selena, I wouldn't have to deal with this. Don't act like you're doing me a favor by staying here. If Selena hadn't gotten married, I'd be living with her, not you." It was hard to hear those words. The house we live in was rebuilt a few years before my dad died, and while the house is in my mom's name, I'm the one paying off the loan. Despite all I do, she continues to compare me to Selena and insults me whenever she sees me. I felt trapped and hurt living with my mom, who seemed to resent me so much, but despite everything, there was a reason I couldn't give up on her. When my dad passed away, my mom was devastated. She cried for days, didn't eat properly, and became so exhausted that everyone around her was deeply worried. Seeing her like that, I made a promise to myself: I need to protect my mom and support her for my dad's sake. As the eldest daughter, I've always felt a strong sense of responsibility. Even now, I get upset at my mom's words and actions, but after losing my dad, she was the only parent I had left. No matter how harsh she was, I could never truly hate her. Then, one day, my sister Selena came over to our house with her husband. As soon as she saw my mom, she broke down in tears and said something shocking. "Mom, we're having such a hard time. Life is tough." My mom immediately looked worried. Selena continued, "My husband got laid off, and we can't pay our rent anymore. We have nowhere to go." I was stunned. My sister then said, "If it's okay with you, can we live here?" I knew right away this wasn't going to end well, but before I could say anything, my mom jumped in. Yes, yes, of course, my lovely Selena is in trouble, I have to help her." Selena hugged my mom and said, "Thank you, Mom, I love you so much." My mom was overjoyed, and they made the decision on their own without even asking for my opinion. I felt completely left out, so I tried to speak up. "Hey, wait a minute, Mom, I live in this house too." But my mom just looked at me coldly and replied, "So what? The house is in my name, right?" "That's true, but," I started to argue back, but before I could finish, she cut me off with a sigh. "If you don't like it, you can leave." Her words hit me hard. It felt like I didn't matter at all. "What?" I froze at my mom's words. She looked at me coldly and said, "Didn't you hear me? I told you to leave. You've always been just a replacement for Selena, you know." Her words hit me like a slap in the face. "That's horrible, you don't have to talk to me like that," I cried out. "I don't want a parasite like you," she replied. "Now that Selena is back, I don't need you anymore." I stood there, blinded by shock and sadness. My mom, the woman I had supported my entire life, had cut me off so easily. I couldn't understand how the daughter who left her after getting married could be so loved, while I, the one who stayed, was treated so cruelly. I felt frustrated, miserable, and on the verge of tears. That's when my sister, Selena, looked at me with a sly grin and spoke. "Mom said the same thing, you know, why don't you just get out of here, sis?" "What?" I stammered. She continued with a smirk, "If you don't leave, there won't be enough room for us. Mom doesn't need you anymore, you're trash." Before I could process her cruel words, Selena called over my mom and her husband, and the three of them started discussing their move-in plans, completely ignoring me. "I'm so happy," Selena beamed. "Let's have a barbecue the day we move in." "Great idea," my mom responded cheerfully. "I'll get the ingredients." They were all so excited, laughing together, while I stood there, feeling invisible and broken. Then my sister turned to me again. "Hey, What are you doing just standing there? Didn't I tell you to get out? You're nothing but a parasite. You need to leave and give us some space. Be out by the end of the week, okay? I struggled to hold back my emotions, but in the end, I had no choice but to comply. To make things worse, my mom and sister started planning a short trip with her husband. My mom's final words before leaving were, "We'll be back after our trip. You'd better be gone by then, okay?" It was clear, to my mom, I was nothing more than a distraction. As long as Selena was around, I didn't matter. Fine, I thought bitterly, if you're willing to do this to me, I won't put up with it anymore. From that moment, I felt no sympathy for my mom. I was filled with determination. I would take my revenge. I acted quickly. I contacted a moving company right away and arranged to move out while my mom, sister, and her husband were on their trip. The movers seemed curious when they saw the situation and asked me, "Do you want all of this stuff moved?" I replied firmly, "Yes, and please make sure everything is left clean." "I'm so sorry, I think you're misunderstanding something," I said calmly. My sister immediately raised her voice. "What do you mean?" I decided it was time to explain the truth to her. "I don't know what you've been told, but I bought all the furniture and appliances in this house. I paid for them with my own money. Now that I'm moving out, I'm taking my things with me. That's fair, isn't it?" What are you saying?" Selena stammered, her face filled with disbelief. "Everything left in this house, furniture, appliances, was bought by me. Do you understand now?" My sister was furious. She huffed and glared at me with a devilish look, clearly trying to hold herself together. Then, out of nowhere, she said, "The money in the bank is gone. We couldn't use Mom's credit card on our vacation, so I had to borrow money from a cash advance to pay for the trip." I replied calmly, "Oh, really?" Selena's face twisted in anger. "So you took all the money in the bank, didn't you?" I smirked and answered, "Of course I did. It was my money. What's wrong with that?" Hearing that, my sister exploded. "Don't play with me," she shouted, her face turning red as she stepped closer to me. "Give the money back. That bank account should have had Dad's insurance money." I stared at her. "What are you talking about?" She looked panicked. "It's not in there? No way. When I came to this house before, there was so much money in that account." I explained calmly, "That was just me. I've been adding a portion of my income every month. That's all the money you saw. It was my savings." Selena froze, still in shock. "What do you mean? Then what happened to Dad's insurance money?" "It's gone. A long time ago. Your beloved mom spent it all," I said firmly. My sister's head snapped back toward my mom. My mom quickly turned away, trying to avoid eye contact, her face looking guilty. "Wait a minute. Mom, is that true?" Selena asked, her voice shaking. "Well, my mom mumbled, unable to give a clear answer. Selena, who had clearly reached her limit, shouted, "What the hell is going on?" She continued, her voice full of anger, "I came back because I thought Dad's insurance money was still here." My mom, trying to calm her down, muttered softly, "Calm down. Calm down?" Selena screamed, "How can I calm down? You spent all of Dad's money, didn't you? What are we supposed to do now?" My mom looked helpless and replied weakly, I was so happy to live with you again. You came back because you wanted to be with me too, right?" Selena snapped, "You've got to be kidding me. I only came back to pay off my debt." "Debt?" I repeated, shocked. From their heated conversation, I finally learned the truth. It turned out that my sister and her husband had become addicted to gambling. They ended up accumulating a huge amount of debt. In a desperate attempt to pay it back, they gambled even more, hoping to win, but instead, they lost everything. To make matters worse, my sister's husband had stopped going to work and eventually got fired, officially laid off under the excuse of restructuring. Now drowning in debt, Selena and her husband had returned to this house, hoping to get their hands on Dad's insurance money. And my mom, completely unaware that she was being used, had driven me out of the house on a whim. This was the result. I looked at them and said calmly, "Now you get it, don't you? There's no more insurance money. Mom already spent it all. All that's left is the mortgage." I said calmly, "I'm leaving now. You two can take care of the rest of the loan." Suddenly, my sister ran up to me with tears in her eyes. Wait, sis, my husband and I are drowning in debt. There's no way we can pay the mortgage." I looked at her and replied coldly, "That's none of my business. Please, let's all live together again," she pleaded. I smirked. Didn't you always say mom wanted to live with you? Well, now you can. Isn't that great? No, 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 wait, don't go. Emily, my sister cried desperately. Emily, please stay, my mom added, trying to cling to me. But I had had enough. I shook them both off and spoke firmly. I've supported you, Mom, and this house for my entire life. I even paid the mortgage. And yet, you only cared about Selena. When she came back, you called me a parasite and told me to leave. Are you kidding me? Selena isn't a cute little sister. She's nothing more than a parasite. I will never come back to this house again. From now on, you and Selena can deal with your debt on your own. With that, I walked out. My mom and sister begged and clung to me until the very end, but I ignored them. I had no reason to listen anymore. It's been about a month since then. Unable to manage, my mom and sister eventually started working part-time jobs, but it wasn't nearly enough. They had no choice but to sell the family home. Now they live in a small, cheap apartment where they fight every day. Mom, this is your fault, Selena would scream. If you hadn't kicked Emily out, I could have used her help. My mom would snap back. What? I did it to make room for you. You said you wanted to live here. Selena yelled. The only reason I came back was for Dad's money. You're worthless otherwise. Worthless? Watch your mouth, Mom shot back. The two of them argue constantly. They barely earn enough to eat and can't afford to buy anything extra, not even clothes. Honestly, I think they deserve each other. As for me, my life has completely turned around. I moved into company housing, which has been great. My commute to work is shorter now, and I finally have more time for myself. At first, I was shocked when I was kicked out of my parents' house, but now I feel grateful. Thank you for kicking me out, I think to myself. From now on, I'll live happily, focusing only on my happiness.